about it. Foreclosure is what leads to short sales, all this kind of stuff. So it's good to know about the process. So number one, you can explain it to people, and number two, you can help people that are looking for things. Right now, we have kind of an issue with what's going on with Zillow. Zillow, for some reason, is reporting foreclosures as being regular sales. So when your client logs on to Zillow to go looking for houses, and they're going to send you this, oh, what about this great one I saw on Oak Street? And you're looking it up, and unfortunately, a lot of times it's not going to be listed, and it's actually going to be a foreclosure. So to be able to explain this to them fully, instead of just saying, no, you don't want that house, and kill their dream and walk away and they totally hate you, to be able to explain it fully is better. It helps you guys out, and just explaining it will help them change their mind most of the time on wanting to buy that, or they're going to change into investors, and even better. So let's talk about it. Foreclosure. Foreclosure in California is handled with two official documents. The first document is called a notice of default. And this notice of default, also referred to as an NOD, this is the first document that's filed. This is an official document. This document gets recorded. They hang it on your front door.
Oh, golly.
And it also is advertised in the local paper. All of the notices, how they look, the font sizes and types are all regulated. So this has to be super official. The notice of default will typically come after 3 months of missed payments. So they can't start a default in California for sooner than 3 months. However, they can wait longer than that if they choose to like to. But at 3 months, they can file a notice of default. This notice of default period is 90 days. And what this notice says, hey, you guys have signed a note and a deed of trust saying you're going to pay this property back and make your payments, and you haven't, you've missed 3 months of payments. Now we're telling you, you got 90 days to call us and to fix this program and either get your payments back up or work out a loan modification or something like that, or we're going to take the next step. So the next step in this process is the second document, and it's actually the final document that's recorded. There's only two, and it's called a notice of trustee sale, also commonly known as an NOTS. Now, a notice of trustee sale is the same. Recorded, hang on your door, put in the newspaper. The fonts are regulated, the type of letter that is, the announcement, it's all regulated. This one says, hey, 90 days ago we sent you a notice of default saying that you're in trouble, we're going to take your house back if you don't make your payments. We've noticed that you haven't contacted us, you haven't done anything yet to make that right. So, in 21 days, we're going to auction off your house at the courthouse steps. And it's just that, and it's that final. Now, anywhere in here, the lender can make extensions, they can postpone this. Common reasons for postponement or extensions are, number one, to work out a loan modification. Number two, maybe the seller did a bankruptcy. The bankruptcy comes up as a list pending, meaning a pending lawsuit, so they won't be able to go through with the foreclosure oftentimes. So this can kind of change, but this is the standard thing. So 121 days is the total from the day you first got that notice to, it's actually down here on the courthouse steps. So on this day 21, we're heading down to the courthouse steps because we saw a deal, whether on Zillow or Foreclosure Radar, California Radar, any of that property radar. We saw this foreclosure coming up. So now we're going down to the courthouse steps. And what goes on down here? So on this day, if it's not postponed, and keep in mind you may have done your research for all of this home prior to the fact, and now you get down there and it's actually postponed or the sale's just canceled. They went ahead and made their payments up and they're no longer in foreclosure, or for some reason it's postponed until next year or something else, who knows. You may have done a bunch of work for nothing. So you go down there to the courthouse steps and there's going to be an opening bid. So this opening bid in many other states is published well ahead of the auction. In California, it's not mandatory that it is, and they can change it. So sometimes Property Radar will show an opening bid that's really reasonable, and you want to go down there, and pick up the house. However, you get down there and the opening bid is much higher. So it ends up being maybe not a good deal, not even a purchasable deal. So this opening bid can be anything the lender wants. It can be exactly what's owed for the whole thing. If there's even 2 loans, it could be the whole total. It could be the first only. It could be a discounted portion of the first. It could be what you owe on the first, plus the penalties and fees that they've had to do for hiring an attorney to do this foreclosure. So the opening bid could really be anything. And like I said, it can change 10 minutes, 10 seconds before the auction starts. So what happens is you have this opening bid, and let's say in this instance, on this house or whatever, the opening bid is $100K. And they're going to do it just like an auction. The auctioneer is going to say, hey, we have this property, and it's important to do, there's a bunch of information that we need to do before we get to this process. And we're going to kind of take a break from this right this second to talk about that. So this bid at $100K, it's really important to know all about this sucker, because we don't know unless we dive in what this seller had. So let's pretend for 1 second, here we are in the cellar, and when they bought the house, they took out a $250K first and a $100K second. That doesn't really happen anymore in today's market. We've kind of eliminated a lot of these seconds, but that was really popular, especially all the way up until 2006, 2007, where someone would have 2 loans. So, a couple things. Number one, there's some stuff that survives foreclosure. There are some liens and some code violations that will survive this foreclosure. So you need to have a title company research or do your own research to see what's surviving.
What does that mean?
That means like if we close the deal, maybe the city of Stockton has a $35,000 code violation on this house and they don't negotiate. So the day it closes, you now owe the city of Stockton 35 grand as a lien on your new property as well. And like I said, they're not negotiating. They're not in the mood to come over and have you say, will you take 10 grand or something on this? They're getting exactly what it says, and it's connected to your tax bill, or else you're not going to be able to sell that house. The other interesting thing is, this was our first loan, remember, and this was our second. There's a really strong possibility that the foreclosing party could be that second loan. And this is how a lot of people get in trouble and get upside down on foreclosures. They've done their research. Hey, we went and talked to the title company. There's no surviving liens, or maybe there is. Maybe there's one for $8K. But we know about it, and we're going to pay that sucker off. We're all good. We went down there. They opened the bid at $100K, and I couldn't believe it. No one bid. We bid $100K, and we got it. Boom, our house. Now you get back, and you pull a preliminary title report to go and sell that house, and what you realized is that second is gone, but you own the house now, subject to that. So you bought the house for $100, but you still owe $150 on it. The other thing about this whole scenario as a buyer is you get to do no inspections. No inspections. There's no title insurance. So there's nothing to protect you against anyone else coming back and saying, hey, you owed me for this lien or this roof, anything like that. The foreclosure is going to wipe out most of that stuff, but if any of it's legitimate that makes it through, you have no title insurance to protect you. You can't inspect it, so you don't know, literally you don't know the condition of the home. A lot of what we do as investors is we try to use the model that the outside is going to somewhat mirror the inside. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. We just bought one on Burnham Court, and the outside looked great, and when we got in, the whole entire inside was full of drugs. And the cops ended up getting involved. It cost us $60,000 to rehab that house. And there was no way to tell. There was no way to see inside. So we want to make sure we're not buying a second. We want to make sure we're only buying a first. And how this happens is, this $100K, since they were the second that was foreclosing, it's interesting how it works. When the money gets paid out, it goes from the top down. So the first would actually get all of that money, and the second was the one that paid for that foreclosure. Kind of interesting how that works. Sometimes the second will come and foreclose and do it themselves so that they can be the one that takes over subject to that first. So they're trying not to get wiped out. A second position for anyone is not a great position to be, because if you're just in a second position, and let's say this first of $250,000 was foreclosing, at the end the second gets wiped out. Anything that's below the foreclosure gets wiped out. Anything that's above, the proceeds go to first. And above is just time frame. So, the first loan at 250K would be above the second loan at 100K. There could be a third loan too. Maybe there's a third loan, this happens a lot. Maybe there's a third loan from your sister-in-law for 50K to help you put in a pool. If the first forecloses, all of it's getting wiped out. Your sister-in-law's getting nothing. So that happens a lot. So no inspections, no title insurance, no chance to go look at the house. The other thing about these type of purchases is this is all cash right there on the spot. You cannot get a loan. You cannot provide. The only thing you can provide as far as a letter is a letter of credit from your bank that says I actually have this money and I'll do it. They will accept that. But other than that, they won't accept a personal check. They won't accept a promissory note. They won't accept any other kind of letters or an approval letter. You cannot get a loan to do this. It has to be all cash on the spot. And we take cashier's checks with us, and they look at the cashier's checks and verify them before they'll give you a number to bid. So this is what's going on in foreclosure in California. It takes 121 days total from the day that they file this notice of default. They'll let you miss 3 months. Then they file a notice of default. That period is 90 days. If you don't make the payments up, they file a notice of trustee sale. That says in 21 days, we're going to sell your house. So from the day that the notice of default is filed, 121 days before your house gets auctioned at the courthouse steps. No inspections, no title insurance, all cash right on the spot. Could be buying a second loan that's still subject to the first. Could be having some things survive that you're not sure of. So overall, it's a really a strategy for a more advanced investor. If you're going to purchase like this, I would suggest this be a big part of your career, not just something that you're doing or looking for a house on a whim. That's it.